Namaskar, Sitaram, Assalamu Alaikum and good morning to you, my dear friends. You are tuned in to the Voice of the Hanuman Mission. This is our weekly educational segment entitled The Beauty of Knowing. I am yours truly, Mahantji Dr. Balliram Chadee, spiritual leader of the Hanuman Mission in Ajax here. Jai Sitaram. My dear friends, a very simple phenomenon that we use in Hinduism. Some people, believe it or not, are still confused and have asked the question, Hindus and non-Hindus alike. Why in Hindu ceremonies, some Hindu ceremonies, we use symbols of sound? Why do we have a bell, for example, a bell that we ring, a shank that we blow, a shank, a conch shell, or a ghanti that you see we beat with two pieces, and other symbols representative of musical attributes in Hinduism? Why do we do it? As well, why in certain functions we do not have the symbols of sound? First of all, the bell, the shank, the ghanti, ghanta is used to clear the air of negative tendencies, negative energy. If we're blessing a house, Graha Pravesh, for the first time, we're performing a ritual. The energy that resides in that place, that domain, before we move in, we don't know what it is. So we have to purify that place. If we're doing a wedding or ritual ceremony in a hall, banquet hall, community centers, many of us do, we don't know what function took place before. We don't know what resides in there, what type of energy resides in there. And when we're doing a wedding outside of a mandir, a temple or an ashram, at the home even, we don't know what sort of negative energy or tendency resides in. So in all of these cases, when we ring the bell, we recite Swasti Vachan, as you might hear your Pandit reciting, and you hear the bell reciting, bell ringing, while the reciting is going on. Then you will hear the sang blow during the time we do the arti, the incense and all of these offerings. And then you will hear the ghanta or ghanti ringing. So there's a combination of sound. The belief is, or the theories, the philosophical, spiritual theories, if there is anything negative, any energy or any bad, it is overridden or destroyed by the power of the sound. The shank, the bell, the ghanta represents the energy from heaven. It is the voice of God that speaks. And when we recite, and in the recitation you will see eyes closed, you will see people, hands in motion. You will hear Pandits or the sadhus, Mahants, Swamis chanting or the spiritualists, and you will hear the noise. I use the word noise because you hear shank, you hear a bell, and you hear ghanta. It changes the atmosphere instantly. It brings that divine feeling to us, that divine frequency, and it clears the air. It allows us to do that. Think for yourself for a moment. If you're doing your arti, and you have a thali, or you have a diya with a parai, and you're performing arti and there isn't a bell ringing, a ghanta beating, or a shank blowing, there's a difference to your arti. But when you take an arti up and you suddenly hear the sound, the sweet sound, radiating from heaven, instantly your eyes will close when you perform your arti, because the presence of God emanates in sound. The first sound, as we know, is Om, Omkar. And that is why we have sounds disseminating from heaven. So as I summarize this for you, Ghanti, Ghanta, bell or shank is used in Hindu rituals and ceremonies to bring the energy, the positive energy from heaven here on earth. As part of your rituals, when we recite the Sankalp, we ask the deity to come in. And this is why that ritual is performed with the sounds of heaven. The only time we do not use shank or bell is in a funeral ceremony because it is solemn. If it's a wish or the right or the desire of the person who died to have all of these things, then it will be done. In some cases you would have seen tasa drumming and you would have seen ghanta. In a funeral, the only thing we see differently, we have a ghanta and it's chimed once at a time instead of normally 2 or 3, and that's the only difference. So until next week, I am Mahantji Dr. Balliram Chadee. For the beauty of knowing, Jai Sitaram.